what if our understanding of time is fundamentally flawed? Imagine a history not of mere millennia, but of epochs so vast they dwarf our entire recorded past. Long before the pyramids cast their shadows over the Nile, before the Hanging Gardens were dreamed of, and before the first words of Genesis were written, there existed a chronicle pressed into damp clay. This record makes an astonishing claim, that the earth was once governed by kings who held sway for a combined 241,200 years. This is not some obscure legend passed down in secret. It is a stark, bureaucratic list, line after deliberate line, inscribed in the Sumerian King List, one of humanity's most ancient surviving documents. 8 sovereigns are named, their reigns measured not in simple decades or even centuries, but in stretches of time so immense they eclipse the entirety of our known civilization. And then, with jarring suddenness, the narrative halts, concluded by a single, devastating sentence: a great flood swept over the land. How could scribes from the dawn of history conceive of numbers so precise, so colossal? Were these monarchs truly human, or did they belong to another order of being entirely? To the Anunnaki, those who are said to have descended from the heavens? And if their legacy was grounded in reality, what indelible mark did they leave upon us, their successors? Tonight, we unseal these ancient tablets. We venture into the age before the deluge. And we dare to pose the question that has been whispered for centuries: was humanity once governed by gods? Before the first cities were built, before the stylus first carved meaning into wet clay, there were kings, but these were not rulers as we comprehend them. They were entities believed to have commanded the earth for tens of thousands of years. The Sumerian King List commences with a proclamation that is both simple and staggering. When kingship first descended from the heavens, it alighted in the city of Eridu. This is more than a historical note, it is a profound theological statement. It asserts that the very concept of rulership was not a human invention, evolved from tribal conquest, but a gift, or an imposition, delivered from a higher realm. Our story starts with a peculiar artifact discovered deep within the Mesopotamian soil, a clay prism inscribed on all its faces. Scholars know it as the Weld-BlundellPrism, named for the explorer who funded its retrieval from the sands of Lhasa in 1922 before it found a home in the Ashmolean Museum. But for those who decipher its message, it represents a direct challenge to our foundational beliefs about time, history, and the nature of those who walked the earth in a forgotten age. Envision this object, not large, standing barely 8 inches tall, its surface is covered in meticulous, wedge-shaped cuneiform. The script is formal and administrative, devoid of poetic flourish. It does not seek to entertain or moralize. Its purpose is to catalogue rulers, their seats of power, and the breathtaking lengths of their rule. As one's eyes travel down the columns, the numbers cease to be logical. One king is granted 28,000 years, another, 36,000, a third, 43,000. In total, 8 rulers before the Great Flood governed for a combined 241,200 years. To the modern intellect, this is preposterous. No human life can span such eras, no dynasty could persist across such unimaginable gulfs of time. Yet this very same document continues its account after the flood, listing kings whose reigns are shorter, plausible, and in many cases, corroborated by archaeology. We find figures like Gilgamesh of Uruk, who appears not only on this list but in epic poetry and in the stratigraphic layers of his city. If the latter portion of the King List demonstrates historical reliability, upon what grounds do we dismiss the earlier, more fantastic section? This enigma lies at the core of the Sumerian mystery. A pre-flood world of kings with lifespans beyond comprehension, followed by a post-flood world of verifiable, mortal rulers. Between them, only a stark, dividing line. Then the flood swept over. The academic world has, of course, proposed solutions. They suggest the initial kings are symbolic, their reign lengths allegories for cosmic cycles or dynastic eras disguised as individual lives. But if this is so, why is the mathematics so exact? Why do these immense figures align so perfectly with the Sa, a Sumerian unit of 3,600 years, a foundational number in their astronomy and mathematics? Al-Ulim, the first king, ruled for 28,800 years, precisely 8 Sas. Al-Algar, the second, ruled for 36,000 years, exactly 10. The pattern is intentional, not a random flight of fancy. Thus, we are presented with a choice. We can treat the list as metaphor, an elaborate literary device from a civilization 5 millennia gone, or we can choose to take it at its word, to seriously entertain the possibility that there truly was an age before the waters came when kingship was not a human affair at all. The shadow of the Anunnaki, the shining ones, falls across this question. For some researchers, the King List is not a collection of myths, but a fragmentary record of their enduring influence. If kingship descended from the heavens, was it literally handed down by beings who came from the stars? If lives stretched for tens of millennia, were these rulers human, or were they something else entirely, governing in physical form yet unbound by our mortal limitations? Consider the broader context. Across the globe, civilizations preserve stories of rulers who lived impossibly long lives. The Bible tells of Adam living 930 years and Noah 950. Hindu traditions speak of the Satya Yuga, an age lasting hundreds of thousands of years. Egyptian king lists similarly attribute reigns of thousands of years to their earliest dynasties. Different languages, different lands, yet the same underlying memory. Before a great deluge, lifespans were immense. After the flood, they contracted. What occurred at that precise boundary? Was there a shift in the Earth's environment, a change in human biology itself? Or was a veil drawn over a deeper past, allowing only fragments of the truth to survive? As we embark on this exploration, we will journey from city to city, from sovereign to sovereign, from Eridu, the first city, to Bad Tibira, the city of metallurgy, from the lost Larak to Sippar, where one king was said to have ascended into the sky. We will encounter Alulim, Alalgar, in Menlawana, in Mengalana, Dumuzid, Ensipadzidana, in Mendarana, and finally, Ubaratutu, the last king before the world was drowned. 8 names, 8 reigns, together spanning 250,000 years. But our quest will not end there. Beyond the flood lie new kings, mortal spans, and the towering figure of Gilgamesh, who bridges the gap between myth and history. Beyond Sumer, we find echoes in the scriptures of Egypt, the Vedas of India, and the Old Testament. And moving beyond conventional scholarship, we encounter thinkers like Zecharia Sitchin, who dared to propose that the Anunnaki were flesh and blood visitors from a distant planet called Nibiru. His work remains fiercely debated, but the question he raised endures. If the king list is not mere fiction, then who were these ancient monarchs, and what inheritance have they bequeathed to us? For now, let us focus on that humble clay prism from Nippur. A small, unassuming object, its words pressed into malleable clay over 4,000 years ago. Words that speak of a time when gods governed the earth for longer than our entire civilization has existed. Words that conclude with the chilling, matter-of-fact line, "Then the flood swept over." This is where our journey truly begins.